entrepreneurship, ask the entrepreneurship panel, if we have any employers on the line, will you put your first and your last name and also the name of your company? We want students to be able to readily identify you. So we'll begin shortly get started shortly in 1 minute.
How do you do that?
So read, right? Yeah,
That's
okay.
me.
Okay, so up in the right-hand corner,
Yeah.
you should see an ellipsis. Marielle, help me out. You're on the line?
Yeah, got it.
So you should be able to change your name from there.
Got it.
Okay. Good morning, Ashley with Artsy Bella. If you can do the same.
Hi guys, how y'all doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And also,
What was the directive you just gave? You were saying if I would do
put your last name as
Okay.
well as the name of your company, Artsy Bella.
Sure, perfect.
And so while Ashley and Reed is getting settled, I just want to encourage everyone to go ahead and, if you can, put your cameras on and to show your smiling faces, because keep in mind, as you build out your companies, your entrepreneurship journey, it's all about branding. Branding extends beyond just a logo, the name of a company. It is connected to emotion. And so you need to be able to make the connection with your audience, with your consumers, those who are going to be buying your product and partaking and using your services. So let's start out on a good note. We want the panelists to engage with your smiling faces as opposed to just your name on the screen. That's if you can. And if you have questions during the time of the discussion today, be sure to drop those in the chat. My colleague, Marielle, she will be managing the chat. So we'll just take a couple of seconds for everyone to get adjusted, get their backgrounds together so we can come online and have a little fun today and start off our discussion. Okay, so I'll start off with introductions. My name is Sherry Noble, and I work in the Career Advancement Center at Robinson College. I am an alum, proud alum of Georgia State University, and we have some awesome panelists today. So they're going to talk about their tips, their struggles, anything pertaining to their entrepreneurship journey, some of their success stories, how they got started. So just get ready to take some notes. We're talking to the experts here, and we're just gonna have some fun with it today. And so for those who are not on, excuse me, on the panel, right now we're just asking everybody to go ahead and mute your computers, because we don't want to interrupt anyone's flow while they have the floor and where they're talking. So we're going to start off with introductions, and panelists, as I call out your name, if you would give your first and last name, the name of your company, and just a brief overview of what your company does. So I'm going to start off with Emily of ECAP Productions.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Emily. My company is ECAP Productions, and we are, hi Ashley, we are a video editing and videography company that helps create affordable pricing for small businesses with their video marketing. We do that by hiring students and recent graduates to actually do the video production.
Okay, great. Welcome, Emily. And next, Jonathan.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Cornelius. I'm the founder of Stratos, and we are a professional networking app for Black and Latinx professionals. One of the things that we really focused on as an organization, it's not just career opportunities, because that's, of course, very important, but also connecting Black and Latinx professionals to relevant career opportunities, as well as networking opportunities, which we see as very important. We're raising right now, pre-seed. We work with like 15 companies now, and we're developing a product looking to launch in May. So super excited to chat with you guys.
Thank you. Welcome, Jonathan. And next up, we have Ashley.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back with you all. I'm the CEO of Artsy Bella, and we're leveraging technologies to teach people how to use art in the creative process to address mental health and wellness needs. Right now, we work with a lot of companies, and we're really honing in on the employee wellness space, being able to supply support to teams. And then we also still have a brick and mortar art studio in East Point near the airport, which we just opened back up. So check our website. We've got tons of classes coming up for you guys to come out and try.
Great. I'll have to check you out, Ashley. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And next up, is it Elissa or Elissa?
It's Alyssa.
Alyssa, welcome. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa Russell. I'm founder of Ready Consulting. And Ready is a for-profit tech-enabled workforce readiness platform. So simply put, we help employers fill open jobs by reskilling their entry-level workers. How does the housekeeper go to the front desk? It's with training from Ready. And our value proposition is that we use virtual reality as a training tool instead of just face-to-face teacher-based instruction.
Okay, welcome, welcome. Next up, Daniel.
Yep. How you doing, everyone? So my name is Daniel Habdu. I am COO of EthioPay. EthioPay is a SaaS platform that allows us to connect Ethiopian diasporas in the United States to Ethiopians in Ethiopia. We allow people to also invest in the US capital markets as well as the cryptocurrency market and do the peer-to-peer transfer. And as of right now, we're actually on roadshow to raise our seed funding here in the Atlanta area.
Great, welcome, Daniel. Next on the line, we have, is it Shihan or Shihan?
Hey, Sherry, thanks for having me. It's Shihan.
Shihan, welcome.
Hey. All right, excited to be here, everyone. My name is Shihan, and I am the founder of Airlift. Airlift is a tech-enabled platform for e-commerce that enables fast shipping using a micro warehouse network. We do that by allowing e-commerce merchants to connect their online stores so that they can send their inventory across warehouses and provide fast shipping, keep track of inventory levels, and manage shipments.
Great, welcome, welcome. And last but not least, we have Reed. Welcome, Reed.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
Cool. My name is Reed Smith-Finez. I've had that last name for like 100 years, so it's been hyphenated forever. I have two companies. One is called Reliant Technology, and that's a data center maintenance service provider. We're sort of like the Apple warranty for data center equipment. And then I have another company called Alitica that was birthed out of Reliant Technology, and we're a sales and service management platform. So it's a singular platform to provide quoting, contract, asset management, and service management.
Okay, great.
We're at 15 years old. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as everyone can see that's on the call, we have those that starting off with seed money to get started. We have those that have been in business for 15 years, those who may be mid-level within their entrepreneurship journey. So what I want to do now, we're going to take a little deeper dive. And some people say that, hey, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I sold lemonade on the corner. I used to braid people's hair in the neighborhood. I know that's how my sister got started out. She used to braid hair. And so I just want to take a little deeper dive and just to ask you about how you got started. Did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit? So we'll start with Ashley. Ashley, tell us how you embarked upon Artsy Bella.
Okay, well, I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but where I went to school wasn't set up for people who thought in that brain, who wanted to solve problems and kind of go against the grain. And so I just put my focus on my talent, which was art. And then people told me I could make money doing that. So I actually dropped out of school for a little while, trying to figure out what to do next. And I landed in mental health and did that for 10 years.
Wow.
During that time, I worked with sex trafficking survivors for about 6 years. And we found that they had a hard time expressing themselves, finding healthy distractions. And so I was able to try art therapy with them because it was something that had helped me as an artist. And through their encouragement and just seeing how powerful of a tool art can be in helping people, I decided to quit my job and start my business. So I did have like a 6-month plan.
Okay.
But I realized 28 jobs later, all these degrees, and still not being happy with someone else kind of dictating my quality of life. I just decided to go out on my own. So I started Artsy with $50, quit my job, and then just figured it out from there.
Great. Now, you notice everyone on the call, she did say she had a plan. I know that some people said, well, I'm a seats by the pants kind of guy, I just jump out or whatever, but still have a plan. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Jonathan, what about you? What's your story?
Yeah, it's a good question. I love that question, actually. Mine was just playing basketball in high school. I've always been just very hyper competitive. So I've always played sports as a kid. And I got into the workforce. I interned at a couple companies, and I just realized that I didn't see how far I could go with that. And I don't say that just to say like, oh, I always just wanted to work for myself and be my own boss, but just in terms of my trajectory and how far I really wanted to go. I saw that, doing the startup grind could really get me to these places a lot quicker. Everybody has their reasons. Mine was more so just like the paychecks. Just as a young student, I wasn't looking at it, big picture the way most would. I was more so just like, this is not going to have a huge payout. So I looked at it from that side, so financially for my family. But it really just goes back to that competition portion. All of you know that this is a very competitive game. We all have competitors in our space, and investors are constantly asking us about them. So for me, it's just that competitive drive, and it's nonstop. It doesn't matter how far you get or how many customers you bring on. There's some competitive aspect of this that's going to always be prevalent. So I just kind of took that as my approach. I like Tom Brady, I like Kobe Bryant, I like guys like that who are just very competitive and just constantly want to get better. And I saw that starting Stratos could also bring about impact and also just, have a competitive drive and keeping, great people around me that want to win as much as I do and impact as many lives as we can. So I would say in a nutshell, it can take me very far. And then the second reason was just my competitive drive. Because I like to just see things all the way through.
Great. Which leads me into another question. We're talking about competitiveness. And when you talk about competitiveness, you're talking about building your business, building your brand and successes. So Shihan, I want to ask you, what does success look like for you in your business?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say think big, right? Don't be shy about your dreams, be bold. For me specifically, it's ringing the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange bell, getting publicly listed, right? But I think what's more important is building something sustainable long-term that can, where people love working at, and it gets it's really a force for good.
Right. I like that. So Elissa, Shihan just mentioned something about a force for good and wanting to, I guess, give back and do well. And you mentioned about how you, in your business, you prepare entry-level workers to be upscaled into other positions. Give us a little bit more about your company.
Okay, so I'm a social entrepreneur, with the term that's kind of new, you're hearing it more often, but social entrepreneurship is essentially a for-profit business that does work that benefits the community and individuals. So essentially people, when I first started Ready, people, oh, you should be a nonprofit. Absolutely not. Working for free, not what I do. So I just refuse to be and I came from working in nonprofit. So social entrepreneurship, it's about actually having an impact in community. And that is my end goal. Success for me would be if I could train 200 people a year, which sounds like a small number, but it's manageable. And it's important when you're thinking about your business that you're doing things that you are progressing or scaling according to what you're able to do. So if I can impact 200 lives annually, that would be a big success for me, as in 200 individuals, getting them into sustainable work, as in making more than $15 an hour. So because the people wage or less. Success to me would mean accessing VC funding or at least a tech partner, because I use virtual reality. Is very expensive to create. The content is very expensive. So I need a partner that would work with me so that we could do it collaboratively. And also I actually go after government contracts. Acquisition of like a $1 million or $2 million government contract. So I go after contracts with the Department of Labor. So I'm training people who are receiving unemployment benefits, 16 to 25-year-olds. So yeah, those three things would be like, that would really mean success to me. And actually really having an impact on someone's life, seeing someone be able to move into a different pay scale economically, therefore they can move into a different community. They can will no longer be reliant upon social services so that they can take care of their regular needs like housing and food.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's what success means.
Great. Now, Daniel, Elissa mentioned about getting seed money and funding. Can you give us a little bit of a background on how you are trying to get seed money and funding in order to build out Ethiopia?
Sure thing. Thanks for that question. So at this current moment, we've been completely bootstrapped, close to 6 figures. My co-founder and I, we put in our own money, made, betting on ourselves. And now that we've been able to conversate with investors, they see that when we take ourselves serious and we're putting our own money up front, that they're open to now taking us serious and listen to what we've been doing. So to the point that I alluded earlier, we're on a roadshow right now. We've been talking to different VCs and angel syndicates in the Atlanta area to be able to raise $100,000. Some of the conversations have been going forward, and we're actually having follow-up calls actually this week as well. So I'm happy about that.
Okay, so can you give, this is for Daniel or anybody else on the panel, any information, any tips or feedback, someone on the panel, you may have had a great idea. How did you get started with seed funding and money? Bree, Daniel, Emily, can we hear from one of you guys?
Yeah, there are so many programs out there that offer grant money.
Okay.
That's kind of, I know Daniel and I and Alyssa and several of us on here actually all went through the Main Street program, which was like a really great program that offered seed funding, and it was grant money, so it didn't even dilute your business. But I actually worked for the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute while I was a student. And so just felt like there were so many programs constantly coming out that were part of Georgia State or part of Atlanta Tech Village or were national programs. And so I think those are really great ways competing in stuff like that. That would be my opinion.
Now, what if you have someone, their business is not rooted and grounded in technology, and they want places where they can go, or organizations they can go to, or websites where they can get seed funding? Does anyone on the panel have any feedback on where to get started if they're not a tech-based company?
So I'll say that we didn't start as a tech company. We had a consumer product and we provided a service in a brick and mortar business that also kind of created overhead. So we always needed to find money, right? So I started with $50. I took that $50 and I said, how can I flip this into more money so that I can continue to try out this idea that I have? So I bought some art supplies and some art, like I made these easels so that I could start doing paint parties, and just using that $50 to buy this stuff for that one allowed me to book a party with somebody where I ended up making $250. And so instead of spending the $200, I bought more supplies so that I could do 4 more parties and just continue to create an opportunity to make profit, even if that started with family and friends. but then to take that, any profit made and just reinvest it back into the business. And that gave me my initial seed funding, was just not taking any from it, and utilizing that season where you get family and friends, but not relying on it forever.
Okay.
That helped me yeah, I definitely did the Main Street program, and it has helped my business get to where it is. But before that, I reinvested every dollar that I made so that I could continue to grow it.
Okay. Reed, you mentioned that you have 2 companies, so you're rather established in what you do. Can you give us a little feedback on how you got started, funding for your businesses? And then panelists, next, we're going to segue into marketing, because we want our companies to be visible. So begin to start thinking about that.
Yeah. I started this, great question. I started the business 15 years ago, and I was in sales for 10 years before I started the business. So I'm 45. I started the business when I was 30, and I was in sales starting from the age of 21. So I was fortunate to make pretty good money in sales and save money. And I started the business with a partner, and I put in $30,000 and he put in $20,000. And today the business is 20 employees and, about 600 customers and service people all over the world from that initial investment. But what we did along the way is to fund operations, we got a line of credit, and then we ended up getting a line of credit from all of our vendors. So as we had to buy things, they extended us credit, and then we kind of rode that flow between when we had AR and AP. So over the years, oddly, we always just use cash to fund our business. We never really had to use that line of credit from the bank. We got it 15 years ago. We've never really had to use it. And we use that cash flow to start this new business, which is basically a product we built to serve Reliant. Now we're going to spin it out to start a new business. But all of it's been self-funded, and I definitely have buddies who have companies that have started, companies that got funding and have done really well. And I've had other people who have bootstrap type businesses. They've done well. It's just kind of my preference, my journey, my understanding so far is to not take money and try to fund things myself, because, I like the control, and I also like the freedom to not have to, I guess, answer to other people. There are some limitations to that from a growth perspective sometimes if you're in a certain kind of market. But right now, for what we do, it's worked well.
Great. So now we're going to talk a little bit more. You mentioned, Reed, about line of credit. Can you give the students on the call a tip about establishing your line of credit? Because you hear so much about that.
Oh, yeah.
Getting your business.
So I'll tell you all a story. So a long time ago, when we first got started, I'm a sales guy who started a company. And I was a top sales guy at a pretty big company, about 120 people. And start this company, I'm like, I can sell anything. Just get me on the phone. Let's do this. So we start talking to customers, and for 90 days, we didn't sell anything. I'm like, did I make a tragic mistake? So we started to get some traction, and we started to do some bigger deals. And at one point, we had about $1 million worth of business we had done with a few customers. And we had to go buy, let's just say, $800,000 worth of product. And we had a vendor that had extended us $400,000 worth of credit. Well, you've got another $400,000 worth of stuff you need to go buy from other people to fulfill these orders. These are like orders we have. So it was crazy. I mean, we have the purchase orders from the customer. We've got some credit, but not all the credit. And I can tell you, this is a lesson learned about getting money. Get money when you have money. It's so much easier to get money when you have money, at least from banks. That's been my experience. The second thing is talk to a bunch of banks. Every bank is different. And you might go to BB&T or SunTrust or whoever else. You could go to 15 banks and they'll give you different answers, and they all have different policies. So if you're going to get a line of credit or get financing, or probably if you go get capital, it just makes so much sense to talk to different people, because from my experience on the banking side, every bank has a different policy and answer. And we ended up getting we had tons of banks that said, you know, if you give us $300,000, we'll give you $300,000 worth of credit. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, I'm not gonna give you 300 grand of cash to get $300,000 of credit. We ended up getting an $800,000 line of credit from BB&T, and they're still our bank to this day. So, and all they required was the accounts receivable and the pledge of the inventory, which wasn't that much at the time. And that was just a wide dispersion between, we won't give you any money to, we'll give you 800 grand.
Wow. So he's dropping some good nuggets, guys. He's saying going to go to plenty of banks, you know, spread that love around, especially if they want your business. So, and thinking about that, I hear so many people say, hey, you don't need a business plan to start your business, just start. Let me hear from anyone on the panel your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I could jump
Daniel.
in.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and thank you for that insight, Ree. I think, honestly, even before you can go to a bank and get a line of credit, even before you can go to get funding, I think the first important thing is just having the right mindset. And then once you have the right mindset, even if you want to raise capital from a bank and stuff, choose the proper business structure and register your business with the proper paperwork. Because some businesses might be a red flag versus some that might be a little bit easier. Then have that business idea, your due diligence in terms of your business plan. Once you have all of that, then you can come up and either be creative with it. You know, you can do a HELOC. So if you have a house, a single family or multifamily, you can do line of credit and bet on yourself. Or if you have like whole life insurance, you can take cash flow from there and utilize your own money. Or then you can do external funding and go to these different programs that are available around the city, accelerators, you know, venture capital, private equity. Money is the cheapest it's ever been right now. So it's not really a hard time to find money if you have a good idea and you're thorough.
Great. Anyone else on the panel want to give any feedback?
I can.
I'll jump in.
Okay, go ahead. And then Jonathan, you're next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, me or you?
Shihan.
Okay. Yeah. I believe a lot of you are like just starting out, and I think one of the most important things is like getting cash in the door as soon as possible. When you're just starting out, it's really tough to find like lines of credit. A few things that you can do is you can get, Reed mentioned earlier, get vendor lines of credit. There are places like Uline and supply stores that will extend you lines of credit, and then you use them to build credit for your business. But I think like the better strategy really is to try and get funding from your customers. When we initially started, like our first customer, we started very slow, and as we ramped up, we went ahead and got a bunch of our invoices prepaid so that we could scale up alongside them. And a lot of that at times looks like consulting work, right? Like you can go and do a contract that's like that kind of adds to your business for a company for like 100,000, a few tens of thousands of dollars. And that kind of fuels your development. But yeah, so a lot of times when you're initially talking to customers, a lot of these customers, what they'll do is they'll just hire you, right? Especially if you're B2B, like I don't know too much about B2C, but like if you're B2B, a lot of these customers will hire you if you show that you're whatever you're building benefits them in some way, right? So like that initial customer discovery is very important because those are your first customers and those are your first contracts to really fuel your business.
Okay, great. Jonathan, you had some feedback?
Yeah, I did. I think your question was, should you just jump in or should you wait? I would say jump in. I think scrappiness goes extremely a long way. Because what you realize along your journey, people are going to ask certain questions. And one of the main themes from investors or potential customers or whoever the case is, they're going to essentially ask, what have you done? And of course, how can you reproduce these same results that you're pitching to me that you're saying you can do? Right. A lot of times people would say, hold on, do this, do that, which is great. But if you look at like Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, one of the things he always pushes is just go out, try it, make mistakes and learn from it. When we first started, we just went on Fiverr and pulled a bunch of cold like email lists, and they just scraped it from LinkedIn and from Crunchbase. And we just started sending out a lot of cold emails, pitching something that we didn't 100% have, right? But from that, we retained, the 15 customers we have now, 5 of them came from that. And if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have those customers now, right? And then we learned a lot from making mistakes, pitching something that wasn't fully built. But one of the things that taught me is how to be scrappy and how to build a table that needs 4 legs with 3, right? Just really just, ask yourself this question, how resourceful are you? Because if you're not from like rich parents or, a lot of wealth around you that can close your pre-seed round, a lot of it's going to be going through being scrappy, right? Doing a lot of cold emails to investors or going to pitch competitions. That's the things that's going to set you apart from your competitors. And then when you close that pre-seed round, it's going to be, clearly just off, you were scrappy, you were resourceful. So I would suggest just jumping into it because it just shows you that you're different and then that you're not afraid to take risk and potentially fail.
Great. And I love that term scrappy because you have to be scrappy and resilient as an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur for about 12 years. So I know the struggle, and the struggle is very real. So, we'll segue into Alyssa, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add, what Jonathan was saying about, being scrappy and bootstrapping. If I'm going to assume that most people on this call are students and then probably undergrad students. So sorry, ain't nobody about to give you no line of credit. I came up with something to help small babies. It's probably not going to happen, especially because there's just a lot of barriers for people of color in getting lines of credit from banks and stuff. But what everyone says on this call is absolutely true. There are different pathways to get to your success. Some people build a business plan. Some people just start selling tomorrow and they're highly successful. For those who are like, you're a student, you're like, what? I messed up my credit when I was in 12th grade because I got a credit card. That's not going to work. And how do I build business credit? A route is going to the incubators. I put in the chat, like register with Invest Atlanta, with Launch GSU, they send out newsletters. You would not believe how many organizations say, hey, here's $5,000. Hey, here's $2,500. And then your name, I won $2,500 from Atlanta Tech Village. And then suddenly I was getting all these contacts. Hey, we would love to know how you're doing now. And it really helps push your business. So John is right about the being scrappy. Once you start going, something that's no cost and requires you sitting down, submitting a 2-minute video. And that's how I got accepted at Atlanta Tech Village. It's what kind of puts your face out there and associates you with this brand and whatever you do. And hey, they give you $500 and that's a start. Alongside whatever your side hustle is, because you got to have one. You got to be able to pay the bills somehow, and you got to be able to buy some of the things you need. It is not free to start a business. Secretary of State costs money, business registration, all
exactly.
That. Yeah, it takes some time and effort and knowledge and a community to get to the point where you can get larger sums of money. So if you're just like, I don't really know, go for after these competitions and get on those mailing lists because there are so many, especially in Metro Atlanta. There's a lot.
Great advice.
And little money goes far.
Thank you, Alyssa. I just want to let the students know that there's valuable information that's going on in the chat. So our panelists have been dropping nuggets in there. So if you want to take the time to kind of scroll through the chat and get information that they're putting in there. And if you have any questions, just drop those in the chat as well. We'll try to get to those. This has been a great conversation so far. So I want to hear from Emily or Ashley. Can you talk a little bit about your marketing strategy? What have been some of your successes with marketing?
Yeah, I'll say one of the biggest successes we've had with marketing is that most of it's just been word of mouth so far. I think last year and this year, on the back of a lot of the pitch competitions we were winning, we were able to just kind of get a lot of free marketing and free press, which definitely helped. But what I concentrated on was, when I first got started, was trying to identify 10 customers. If I could just get 10 people who, beyond family and friends, so somebody that my family or a friend told about what I was doing, and just really trying to just perfect the service that I was providing them, and really make sure that I left them wanting to go tell somebody else about our company and our products. And then beyond that, we didn't focus on trying to do too much too fast, because someone else mentioned the importance of discovery. Working with those 10 people helped us to figure out how we needed to improve the products and services, and what to add and what to take away. So I think a big part of our marketing was just really listening to what our customers want. They really make this whole thing easy. If you just build and do what they want, and then you figure out a very creative, visual, artistic way to communicate what you're doing with them, they'll spend their money over and over again.
So I hate to interrupt, that leads me into that question. Finding out what your customers want. Did you do a marketing analytics survey? How did you get feedback?
I really wish I could say I did. It was that deep, and I didn't do all that. So I just said, I'm going to have a free paint party. I'm going to let 20 people come. Half of them were family and friends. And I said, bring somebody that I don't know, because it wasn't going to really give me validation to just have people who were going to support whatever I put out. Even if it was crappy, they were still going to pay for it. But if you bring somebody that doesn't know me and is not connected to me at all, then I can get a better understanding of if what I have even is solving a problem for them. And so I did a free party, and I just let them come. I used my money, that $250 I had from the first paint party I did, and made it really nice, and just allowed them to come, because it wasn't so much that I needed to sell tickets and make money off the customers, but the information that they were going to give me was the most valuable thing. And and I allowed that to be more important than this this amazing idea I felt I had, was to just listen to them.
Great. That's excellent feedback. Emily, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so I try to leverage social media a lot, just because that's kind of what my company pushes, is we make social media videos. And I guess the posts that I've had the most success with is actually just going on Instagram Live and inviting on like a guest star. Usually I try to bring in like rising filmmakers who can talk about what they're doing in the industry, projects they're working on. We sometimes do film discussions, and that's how I always gain the most views, the most followers. And I started to kind of separate, like we would do kind of like cold emailing campaigns, which we use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator to find people to contact.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we bring in our clients. But then I also, since things like TikTok and Instagram is getting so big, I was also trying to build a brand around myself, to kind of, get your name more out there, and also the possibility of being not only selling your product or service, but also yourself being kind of the product and being like an influencer, because then you can start doing things like you can have your own merch line. Like there's so many things out there. You can start promoting other products. And I have this social media marketer who was a friend of my mom. She sat down with me, and she kind of was the first person who introduced me to that idea of like, it's all about you. She was like, because I wanted to make a social media for myself and then a social media for my business. And she was like, no, you have to put those together. She was like, it's you're selling your brand, your identity, and your business is a part of that.
Exactly. We got some good advice going on, guys. I hope you're really looking in the chat. Jonathan has dropped a good resource for your business pitch. Someone asked a question about how can students get help with pitching their business, because you need to be able to articulate. So that brings me to another question. So I'm very passionate about what I do and my business. How can I be able to elaborate that to the world and to the right person? But I'm a good person. I have a great idea. I know it can work, but I fumble over my words and I don't know how to draw people in. What would you say to that, Reed?
That's a great question. I have a really good resource for you guys. It probably have some free resources. It's called Story Brand by Donald Miller. Has anybody heard
Can you
of
put that in the chat for us before
Yeah.
we get off the call? Story Brand.
Story Brand. I know it because they have really clever summaries of what their product does. It's sort of like they make products so your customers will listen or something like that. It's sort of a 7-step process to define a product, a service, or your company. So say your company sells 3 products. You kind of have to have a story brand for each product, and then it kind of ladders up to the main company. But let's just say at the beginning, it's sort of like the process is like, what is your customer? It all starts with the customer's identity. So the customer wants to, I'm going to be overly generic. The customer wants to transform from a zero to a hero. That's sort of like the emotional transformation they're trying to make as a customer. You see that with like Tom's shoes. People buy Tom's shoes, they're not buying shoes. They're thinking, I'm part of transforming the lives of children because I'm buying the shoe and they're going to give the shoes to these kids. That's a great
Or
opportunity.
like Bumble socks.
There you go. There you go. It's
Okay.
perfect. So it's sort of like the first step is like, what's the character transformation of the customer that's trying to happen because they buy your product? And then it goes into what does the customer want? What are the problems the customer has? What is the emotional problem the customer has? So let's say, for our business, we have multiple problems we're solving, but we might say maintenance is too expensive. I'm getting run around from the manufacturer because they're raising the prices. This frustrates me. I wish there was another way for me to solve this problem. Why do I have to deal with this? I've found Reliant, they're a guide in this space. So you position yourself as a guide, they're the hero, not you. Because if you try to be the hero, it kind of messes with their ego. So you're Yoda and they're Skywalker. Okay. So it's sort of like, you guide them and then you give them a simple process to solve their issue. You're going to follow this 3-step process. Give me a call, have a consulting conversation, buy our maintenance and save money and be happy. And then you list out all the ways they're going to be successful if they work with you. Maybe a couple of the pain points if they don't. You're not going to shower them with pain. It's more like you're going to save money. Your colleagues are going to love you. You're going to have uptime. Nothing's ever going to go down. You're going to be asleep easy at night. And if you don't buy from us, you have to deal with the old way. So it's a real easy process to define a product or service. And they have some online training courses and stuff like that. I highly recommend that framework for defining a product or service or a business.
Great. Thank you so much, Reed, and for everybody's feedback on the panel. I want to switch over to Daniel. I know FinTech is on the rise. You're hearing so much about financial technology in this space. What made you go into the FinTech space in Ethio? I know that, what is that, Atlanta Transaction Alley or something like that is really building up here within the Atlanta space. So kind of talk to us a little bit more about FinTech technology and how it relates to your business.
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of, I guess I didn't intentionally go into FinTech. So Ethio Pay was conceptualized out of the necessity when I was trying to help out my mother. So she has arthritis in her knee. We would go to Western Union. We would send money back and forth. I would be her translator and delegate between her and then the person that's working the front. And then especially standing in those long lines. And sometimes the individual that was helping us wouldn't be so helpful. Instead of being one person to just complain about the issue, about the treatment, me and some of my friends, we went about creating this platform to send money back and forth between here, Atlanta and Ethiopia. And we were sending micro transactions and even helping up a couple of people in the community. And then we found out like, oh yeah, you can't be sending money across the country without, regulating it and having know your customer and things of that sort. So took a step back because I didn't want to get in legal troubles, and then educated myself, consulted with lawyers that have specialization in this specific field to be able to help me figure out how to turn this little thing that I was helping mom with to actual business. But in terms of fintech, as I started getting more entrenched within Transaction Alley here in Atlanta and seeing more about the different types of things that are offered within fintech, I saw that fintech is the next wave, and specifically focused in Africa, as there's more mobile proliferation and internet penetration. You're seeing fintech expand throughout the continent. And so my colleagues and I, we just wanted to leverage this leapfrog model to be able to interject ourselves into the continent and be able to, lead this new wave in Africa.
Great. That's great. That's awesome news. This has been a great discussion. I know we're coming to a close and an end, but I know that you're already operating in your businesses, entrepreneurs, small businesses. I want to pose this question to Shihan and Jonathan, or possibly anybody else on the panel. Do you find yourself having to take more classes, courses, development in order to stay abreast of what you're doing in your industry to remain relevant?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's education is going to be one is critical, especially when you get to bring on advisors, investors, customers. You have to know the ins and outs of your space, because if you're not the subject matter expert of what you're doing, then it's going to be hard to work with you, invest with you, or potentially join your team. So just constantly staying afloat. For my industry, I'm in networking, but specifically in that niche, I'm focusing on Black and Latinx professionals. So I have to understand what's going on culturally in the demographic that I'm targeting. And I have to be able to speak to those certain issues. And then also being in my space, I get asked a lot of questions like, hey, if I'm not Black and Latinx, you're not going to let me on your platform, right? So just educating myself on how to speak to certain matters, educating myself on what really scales in this space. And then one thing that I always like to throw out there is just understand what your investor looks like, just in terms of not just any investor is going to put money into you, right? If a fintech VC firm and you are an internet-based company that wants to be the next DoorDash, that's not a match, right? So if you come into these calls and you show that you're wet behind the ears in that aspect, they're immediately gonna know, right? Advisors are gonna know. Senior people that you may want to hire, they're gonna know. So I guess in a nutshell, people can see through uneducated people in this space. So I would say always watch videos, look at your competitors. One of my gods in my space is LinkedIn. So I'm always looking at Reid Hoffman. I'm always just trying to see how did he build such a big company to get purchased by Microsoft, and how could we do a fraction of that, right? If we could scale to that level. So education is key. I constantly keep learning. That's my advice.
Great. What about you, Shihan?
Yeah, definitely. Education is never ending, right? I think what's important is that as you build your business, there are several phases to it, right? And during each phase, you have to become a different person. You have to transform yourself. So whether it's just starting the business, you have to be the person that's able to build a business from scratch, go sell, go find talent, right? Go motivate people. And then as you grow, you're going to find out that, you need to learn how to manage people. You need to learn how to, raise money. You need to learn how to, improve processes. So that's why building a business is so hard, because a lot of people never evolve themselves. And if you don't, then you'll be stuck at a plateau. So you have to constantly evolve yourself. You have to constantly, invest in yourself, improve yourself. And you got to think you got to have the mindset of, okay, what is the next phase of your business? And if you want to be the person to take it there, who do you have to become? Right. And how do you teach yourself to become that? Right.
Great. Which
Tony
brings
Robbins.
Yeah, I know, which brings me, and he segued perfectly because that's my closing question for everyone on the panel. I'm going to do a round robin. So I want to know what's next. You know how you do those interviews way back in the day? I'm dating myself, Arsenio Hall, and they say, "Hey, Jay-Z, what's next? What's coming out next?" So I'm starting off with you, Reed, and we're going to go around the panel. And I want you to tell the students what's next. Do you have a product launch? Are you purchasing another business? What's next for you?
I have two answers to that. The new product I'm starting and I started 4 years ago, but we're spit it out of our core company. It's called Analytica, and it's a sales and service management platform. And you know, I'll talk about it. You might get sleepy, but it's a very simple, easy to use ServiceNow platform. So if you're technical and know what that product is, it's really simple. But I think the other thing what's next is actually old, and that is people. Shion is completely right. And then when I started the company, I didn't know what the purpose of the company was other than to make money. I think the purpose of business now is to love people.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks a lot different. And love is really service. And I think the thing that's new is how do we evolve as people, as managers, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, to really have this heart of service and love for people. And that is really old. I think it's how God designed us. But how do we infuse that into our business so that people feel empowered, excited, and our customers get value? And we use this power of love to really shape businesses and culture in the world. So
great. That's awesome. What about you, Alyssa? What's next for you?
It would be the launch of a hybrid class that'll be part VR and part instructor based, but in the VR setting, and it would be at a alternative school that's in Clayton County. So I'm right now talking with them about us training a set of young adults that will be leaving their program, but not quite ready for the workforce.
Great, that's awesome. What about you, Emily? What's next for ECAP Productions?
Yes, so since I just graduated in the last year, I actually had an internship with a video editing post house, and I realized that there's so much more that I can learn with video editing. So I've been I call out LinkedIn Learning in the chat because it is a great online course service that Georgia State students have access to for free, by the way. So I've actually kind of taken a little bit of pause on trying to find clients, and I am training myself with the new kind of, CGI, visual effects editing, all these big fancy new editing techniques that are getting really big.
Great, great. Okay, so what about you, Daniel? What's next up for EthioPay?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So complete version 2 of EthioPay, as well as clear the US regulatory hurdles. And also we just had a new strategic partnership this week. And so launch of that new subsidiary, which allows individuals to enhance the embedded investing and experience through our API-driven platform. So now individuals will be able to nationwide invest in the stock market as well as the cryptocurrency market. Wow. And so we're hoping to see that expand and then be able to sign a couple of these contracts within the Ministry of Science and Technology within Ethiopia as well.
Great, great. Wish you well with that. What about you, Ashley? What's up next for Artsy Bella?
A lot. We just reopened. We were, kind of figuring out, do we keep the studio? Do we let it go? So we're keeping it because it allows us to stay in close contact with the community. So we've officially opened our doors. We're taking on people that live in Atlanta, just getting them back inside of our space so that I can continue doing discovery with them because that's ongoing, but also so that we can introduce this concept of artist therapy to the Atlanta community. And then we just got a really big client as a pilot company for our new online platform. So we'll be working through that contract, onboarding them, and then starting to sell to more companies. We also just hired a bunch of people. And so I'm having to, as Shihan so eloquently stated, evolve and put on my HR leadership hat in a bigger way than I ever have. And so, yeah, we're just kind of establishing a culture within the company for a bigger team, and I'm just trying to make a lot of money this year and do a lot of good in the community.
Great, great. And Shihan, what's up for you? What's next?
Yeah, so we're continuing to build our platform. The next release is going to include a lot more features to our warehouse management platform that will allow a lot more warehouses to onboard without us going and engaging with them when it comes to the onboarding process, which is very long and tedious. And having the warehouse side or platform is key, because it allows us to increase our capacity in our supply and bring on more e-commerce merchants. And the thing that I'm really excited about is we are introducing an integration library for both our platforms, where companies can come in and build apps for Airlift's platform. And so that'll include things like custom packaging, lending, like for small businesses, EDI, like retail brick and mortar tools. So that's what is the plans for the next few months, and hopefully 2022.
Great. And last but not least, Jonathan, what's on horizon for you?
Yeah, plan to launch in May. So the actual platform, we want to onboard 120 customers, paying, of course. And then our end of the year goal is to have 20,000 users on the platform. So really right now until May, we're just building out our go-to-market strategy. I'm working closely with engineering on just getting everything perfect as it can be on the first iteration of a product. And then we have some customers now that I'm working closely with. So super excited for that. And then we're raising $500,000 now. So just in and out of investor conversations, just trying to get those relationships going. And then looking to close our pre-seed by the end of May, early June. So super excited for that. But yeah, a lot of cool things coming.
Great. Well, we are right at that time with a minute to spare. Well, it's right at 1 o'clock now. I just want to thank all of our panelists for taking times out of their busy days, because I know how the life of an entrepreneur can be. Steady, always building your business. What they say, I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. So it's like you're constantly thinking about how you can get better and do better and serve the community and serve your customers. So I thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to our students here at Georgia State University. And if you at any time want to drop in your LinkedIn information, if you want to drop back in the name of your website or what's out there new, salutations, big ups, anything you want to put in the chat, panelists, please do so. Students, we will have a recording of this session because they dropped so many nuggets. We'll have a recording of it, and I think it's going out through the newsletter, and it may actually be on one of our social media platforms. I'll have to make sure I check and see, but either way, we will get the information out there to you guys. But as I said before, if our panelists want to drop in their LinkedIn names, connections, websites, email, how you can get on their email list to learn more about their products and take advantage of some of their products, we welcome you to do so. And again, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. And thank you to the students for showing up. This is what we do. We do this for you. And we cannot put on programs like this without your participation as well. So have a good weekend. It's beautiful here in Atlanta. I'm not sure if everyone is here. It's a little brisk, but it's beautiful none the same. So thank you again. We'll stay logged on for about another 2 minutes so the students can take advantage of jotting down additional information that's in the chat. And thank you again.
Thanks, Sherry.
You're quite welcome, guys.